Come on, come on. Y'all, has Deeper not been incredible so far? Yes, man, I tell you what, it has been amazing what God has done so far. We're going to start bringing them all inside. Let's go. We're going to move, keep the conference going. I am super excited about our next speaker. First of all, the night one, man, we kicked off and God's moving. Yesterday morning, didn't Pastor Sheldon kill it yesterday morning? That was awesome. On the pressure, I love that. What's on you is better than what's around you. Come on, somebody. That was a bar. That was great. Last night, amazing. And I just want to publicly say how proud I am of Juan, Pastor Juan. Man, come sit up. Man, that was awesome. I did understand everything you said. I just want them all to know that you absolutely crushed that. Hey, before I introduce Pastor Chris, I just want to celebrate Church Boom and Church Rescue. At Church Boom, we've been a part of that for a while, and at Church Boom, we rescue churches and coach pastors, right? So if you're a pastor in the house, man, we want to be a part of your journey. We want to do whatever we can do to make Jesus famous in your city and in your church. Come on, somebody, huh? Y'all got to do better than that. Come on, somebody. That connected deeply with our hearts. Before I got to meet Pastor Chris, rescuing churches was on the heart of the hill. We've been able to help rescue some churches that were ready to shut down, and the Lord began to give us just a passion for this. And as we talked, we had this idea of mimicking a TV show. And I don't know if I ever told many people this, but our leadership team, we did. We had this idea of mimicking a TV show, only it wasn't bar rescue like Church Boom is, right? It was Flip This House. And we thought, what if we go into churches that are struggling? What if we help resource them, we help remodel them, and we help reboot them using Pastor Juan's word? What if we brought coaching and gave them resource and we helped them relaunch in a way that could bring growth to them? So we started praying about this. And then David Amson, Pastor Amsterdam is what I'm also going to call him from now on. That was awesome. Pastor David said, hey, I'm going to this event. Why don't you come and meet some of these guys? So I go to San Diego to a Church Boom event. I asked Pastor David, I said, what is Church Boom? He said, I don't really know, but we're going to have a good time because we'll be together if nothing else. And we really did. So we get there, I walk in the room, and there's this guy fiddling with the electronics, much like, Pat, if you can imagine me, fiddling with the electronics, trying to hook stuff up before a session. And I walked in, and I thought, man, for the tech guy, for whoever runs this, he's not very good at tech. This is my thought. I thought they've really got the wrong person in that place watching him struggle with this tech. And so I find my seat kind of at the back because that's what pastors do. And the guy that was doing tech gets up and he introduces himself on his own mic. And he says, hey, I'm Pastor Chris Songskin, founder of South Hills and founder of and CEO of Church Boom. And I'm going, wait a minute. You mean the guy that was trying to do tech is also the mastermind behind one of the fastest growing churches in the country and this organization? In that moment, man, my heart was challenged and it was really convicted. And I thought, I don't ever want to be so big, come on somebody, that I'm too big to do little things. And that impressed me, Pastor Chris. I never told you that. Not that you probably weren't real thrilled that you were having to do it in that moment. And you shouldn't keep doing those things. But what it did, it really did something in my heart that says as we grow, it's so important that we stay small, right? That he's the one that gets the fame and the glory. Since that time, guys, and I'm taking a minute here, but since that time, Pastor Chris and Pastor Laura, they've imparted in us and impacted us. They've coached us, helped us walk through many difficult things, and it's an honor to just what little part we get to do to help coach pastors and rescue churches. It's our honor as the Hill Church to be a part of the journey at Church Boom. I love you, man. Would you please get on your feet and help me welcome Pastor Chris Songskin.
All right. Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. We're going to have an amazing time together for the next few minutes. It is up. I've already got down to 29 minutes. Man, that went fast. It's all right, Bo. You took 10 of it just introducing me. How great of a sound man I am. But it's awesome to be able to be with you guys and be able to hang out. Thank you, Pastor Bo, Megan, such great friends and partners in ministry, and we're just getting started in the partnership. It is awesome. And Pastor Juan, you did an amazing job. And what an incredible, he's like the Hispanic T.D. Jakes. And yeah, hanky going and the whole shebango. It was incredible. But you guys, I want to teach you guys a little bit more of a teaching today. I have an opportunity to preach tonight, and be able to speak and hopefully motivate, encourage, and inspire. But I want to jump right into it and be able to just talk to you guys a little bit about this concept of being in alignment and in unity as a team. Because here's the bottom line. I love the excitement the Hill Church brings. I love the energy of this conference. I love the mission of the local church. But the local church isn't just about us, it's about other people. And here's the bottom line. I think the enemy gets way too much credit for the damage that's done in the local church. When in reality, we're usually the one that creates it. Here's why. Because when the enemy takes a run at your church, he won't do it through those who attend it. He'll do it through those who lead it. It's those that are leading and those that are leading, whether they're staff members, board members, they're leaders. Now, how many pastors do we have here? Just raise your hand. Lead pastor, youth pastor, whatever pastor. A lot of pastors. Okay. How many people here do something at your local church? You're a leader at your local church to some level. Raise your hand. Board members, come. Board members, elders. Okay. Most of us are leading to some level. And I want to talk to you about this idea of creating alignment and unity. A while back, I was late for an appointment, and I hate being late for an appointment. So I was going down the freeway and flying, and I was totally like way going too fast, doing a nice Christian 95. And I'm flying down the freeway, and going down the freeway, and I know I'm speeding. And have you ever been doing something illegal in a car, like run a yellow light or speed, and you say a quick prayer? Isn't that funny? Like, Lord, as I break the law, may you be with me. We say those prayers. And I'm praying, God, I'm late for a speaking engagement. I'm speaking up in the mountains at this resort thing or whatever. And so I'm flying along, and then all of a sudden the red and blue lights come on. Woo, woo, So I thought, man, what do I do? So I punched it. And and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble. So I pull over, right? And then he gets out of the car. As he's walking and coming out of the car, I look over and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to be even more late to this speaking engagement. I hate being late for things. What do I do? So I look over, and I know this is bad, and I know you're all going to judge me, but here we go. I look over and I see my Bible. And as he's walking up, I put it on the dashboard. Because I'm thinking, maybe he's one of us. And so he comes walking up, and he's all, license and registration, please. He looks over at my Bible, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at my Bible. He's doing the stuff. He's telling me I was speeding, doing all this other stuff. And Pastor Bo, he keeps going like this. He's looking at me, but he keeps looking at my Bible. And I'm thinking, I got him. I'm reeling him in. And so I'm looking at my Bible, going back and forth, looking at my Bible and stuff. And he's looking at the Bible, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'll be back in a second. I look in my rearview mirror. He's writing me a ticket. And I'm thinking, dude, what happened, man? I thought you were with me. And so he comes walking back up. So I had to make it even better. So I had the Bible up there. I put a little cup of tea and a candle, so it looks like a social media devotion. And that still didn't work. I love when people do that. Look, having a devotion. Do you really set that all out? Anyway, then he comes walking up. He goes, here's your license back. Sign here. Do this, do that. He's giving me a ticket. And I'm like, I can't believe this dude is giving me a ticket, And I'll never forget. We're done. And he goes, okay, man, we'll drive safely. He walks away, leans his head back in the window. He goes, oh, by the way, points at the Bible. By the way, read Romans 13:1. Now, I know a lot of the Bible. I don't have every verse memorized. He takes off. I open it up. Obey the laws of the land. There you go. Yeah, it's real wonderful. I was like, my luck, I had to get a Christian cop, and should have got a secular one. And I go up, and I finally speak at this thing. It's like a 2-day event, and they're doing this river rafting thing the next day. Long story short, I got to talk to the guy that was guiding on the river raft, and I said, how long have you been doing this? He goes, oh, I've been the guide for 20 years up here. And I'm like, really? And I said, what's one thing you've learned about going down a river? And he gave me a couple thoughts. First thing he said is, I've always noticed there are people that row with you, people that row against you, and people that don't row at all. People that row with you, people that row against you, and people that don't row at all. And I thought, that's a lot like in the church. Man, there's people that are rowing with me, people that are rowing against me, but people that are not rowing at all. And we have that happen. You're all leaders to some level in this church. You're leading something at the church, most likely. Okay, you're leading a youth, you're leading small groups, you're doing something, an elder, whatever. Okay, you're doing something. And there are those in the church that will row with us, row against us, and those that don't row at all. Here's the other thing I've learned is this. When you go down the river, next time you're going down a raging river, river rafting, realize this, that you look and you think, man, you've seen a powerful river. We've all seen them before. But please understand something. The power of the river is not in the water. The power of the river is in the riverbanks. Watch this, because without the riverbanks, all you have is a pond. Watch the riverbanks. Unity and alignment. The power of the river is in the riverbanks. When we have unity and alignment, we have power. If you remove unity and you remove alignment, you don't have the power of the river. All you have is just a pond. The power of the river isn't the water. The power of the river is the riverbanks. And as soon as we lead pastors, youth pastors, elders, leaders of ushers, greeters, whatever, as soon as we remove them, we lose everything. Alignment creates a lot of things. Put it on the screen for me. Here's 3 things it creates. Number 1 is this. Let's move through it. Here we go. You already took 5 seconds of my time. All right. Alignment creates 3 things. Here we go. 3 reasons why alignment is so important. Say it out loud with me. Alignment forces out what? Help me out. Okay, here's why alignment is so important, because it forces out personal agenda. Every one of us have a personal agenda. Elders, we have a way we want the church ran. Ushers, we have the way we want the church ran. Leader of a small group, we have the way we want the church ran. And the reality is, if God has put the leader in charge, then we have to submit to that leadership. It is never our job to replace what God put in place. And so alignment forces out personal agenda. Alignment creates a badly needed dividing line. This is who we are, and this is who we're not. This is who we are as a church. This is who we are not. That's why alignment is so important. And then thirdly is this. Alignment brings everything into what? Focus. It brings it into focus. Now, I want to show you, let's go to that scripture. I believe it's the slide before. I want to go to the scripture. I want to show you what the Lord says about alignment. Genesis 11. We know the Tower of Babel, right? I'm flying through this. Here we go. Genesis 11. But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. Look, he said, the people, help me out, the people are what? United. And they are all speaking the same what? Language. Oh, and then what does the Lord say? After this, not before. Don't miss that part. Not before. Only after they're united. Only after they speak the same language. Nothing will be possible for them. Now here's something interesting. Unity and alignment is universal, whether it's good or evil. This was wrong, what they were doing. But the Lord said, even though they're doing wrong, if they're unified and speaking the same language, there's nothing they won't be able to do. Even when it's evil, even when it's wrong. Because there's power in unity and power in alignment. And if we, in our churches, can learn with our staff and our board and our team and our leaders to be in alignment, we can unleash a power that's unreal. We think, oh, there's a lot of problems in the church. The enemy's coming against it. No, we're doing all the work. We're the one that's creating the disunity. We're the one that's creating the toxic spirit. We're the one that's talking about the pastor behind his back. We're the ones that are doing that. And that's where that gets created. Now, once that happens, please understand, okay? When alignment happens, there's an issue that you need to understand. That there is an issue between what's called the first chair and the second chair. Say it with me. What is it? And okay, now, if you are the lead pastor, you are in the what? Okay, if you're the youth pastor, you're the elder, you're the board member, you're the leader of a small group, you're the worship pastor, whatever. You're in a second chair. Now, here is the tension. I think one of the greatest jobs of a leader is to define reality, not deny reality. And as a leader, you have to define the reality. You want the reality is this? Here's your reality. There is a tension between the first and second chair. Okay, watch this, watch this. You are a second chair leader with first chair responsibilities. Okay, if you're a campus pastor at the Hill or a campus pastor anywhere, you're a second chair leader with first chair abilities. Yeah. That's where the tension comes. You're a second chair leader with first chair responsibilities, second chair leader with first chair abilities, and that's where that tension comes. And it'd be ridiculous for us to not think that there's not tension. There's tension. Now, what does that tension look like? Here it is. Put it up there for me. Thank you so much. It's a tension, help me out, between what? Between, come on everybody, between what? And at the same time. First chair, second chair has tension at the same time because you have submission and authority happening at the same time. Matthew chapter 10, verse 1 says this. It says, it's not going to come on the screen. It just says, Jesus says, all authority, Hector, I have given you. All authority, Bob, I've given you. All authority, Tom, I've given you. All authority, I've given you. Now, watch this. All authority, I've given you. Okay? Now, verse 39, he says this. In verse 39, he says this. He says, but if you really want to live, then you're going to have to die. Yeah. Hold on. Which one is it? Yeah. Okay, all authority, or you're going to have to die to yourself? And Jesus goes, yes. Yeah. Both. To the disciples. Okay, that's what it's like. I just realized I called you Hector. Do you know why I called you Hector? Dude, you look just like my friend Hector Gutierrez, does he not? That's why I'm going to start calling you just Hector. Henceforth, no longer Juan, no longer Amston, Hector, Amsterdam. All right. There we go. I got him back for you. Dave. So there's a tension between the first and second chair because there is submission and authority is the tension all at once. Yeah. Isn't there? Yeah. It's a tension. You have to submit and you are given authority at the same time. Second one, it's a tension between creativity and boundaries at the same time. Oh, hey, be creative, but here's the boundaries. I want you to do all this stuff at this campus for this youth, for this children, in this small group, but here's the boundaries. It's a tension. Here we go. It's a tension between, put it up there for me. We're going. All right, between personal opinion and the leader's direction at the same time. You have a personal opinion. Why don't we do more worship? Why don't we stay longer in the Word? Why don't we go verse by verse? Why aren't we more prophetic in nature? Why aren't we reaching more people that are in need? Okay, you have your personal opinion and the leader's direction at the same exact time. Isn't that true? Yeah. And that's where the tension comes from. Remember, the job of a leader is to define reality. Let me give you number 4. It's a tension between your strength and the leader's weakness at the same time. Hey, guess what? You might be if you're a youth pastor, if you're a youth worker, you're submitting to the youth pastor. If you're a children's worker, you're submitting to the children's pastor. Here's the reality. You might be a better speaker than them. Yeah. Yeah. You might be better organizationally than them. You might be better strategically than them. And where the pressure is going to come in, it's a tension between your strength. All of us, even if you're volunteering here at the Hill or whatever church, it's a tension between your strength and the leader's weakness at the same time. Okay, let me give you number 5, last one. It's a tension between gaining influence and giving honor at the same time. See, what happens is, pastors, I know this, you give away influence to someone, okay, and they're gaining influence, you give them the stage, and they have to wrestle with gaining that influence, but giving the honor at the same time. It's kind of like when you're the guest speaker, you're on staff, and you speak for the church on a Sunday because the pastor's on vacation, and people come up to you and say, man, I love our pastor. But when you speak, oh boy, it is. And then you walk away going, yeah, I am pretty good. I'm pretty amazing. And then all of a sudden we begin to believe our own press and the tension rises even more. And remember, when the enemy takes a run at your church, he doesn't do it through those who attend it. He'll do it through those, what? That lead it. And we got to recognize that there's a tension. It is not a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage. Because you've got to guard your heart. Not a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage. Some things are a problem to solve. This isn't one of them because there's always going to be that tension because we're flesh. And that's that, it's that giving in. I know what it's like. Now here's the thing. When all this happens, here's what happens. Put that up for definition of leader drift. I created a word in my book called Saving Your Church from Itself. I came up with when I can't find something in the dictionary, I just make up my own words. And so, definition of leader drift. The second word is the most important one. Say it with me. The negative change of an individual's attitude or behavior toward the leader and or the vision of the church. I got 14 minutes. I am flying. Here we go. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm okay. You said he said I'm okay. So if you guys get tired, it's him. The subtle negative change of an individual's, the subtle, negative change of an individual's attitude or behavior toward the church. This is what happens when there is a tension between the usher, the greeter, to the pastor, to the youth worker, to the youth pastor, to the singer, to the worship leader. When there is a tension that happens inside of this ministry at the church, what happens is the attitude and behavior begins to change towards the leader. But please understand something. Before it's obvious, it is very subtle. And believe me, I wrote the book Saving Your Church like 3 or 4 books back or whatever it was. I wrote a book called Saving Your Church from Itself. 6 subtle behaviors that tear teams apart. And it was all about dealing with this issue right here. Not because I did it right. I wrote from doing it wrong. A few years ago, we had a guy that left our largest campus and decided to start a church. His opening service was literally 100 yards away because he felt led of the Lord to do that. In one Sunday, we lose 600 people and $500,000 in our budget on that campus. It's a major deal, Now, here's the reality. I recognized it over here, but I dealt with it over here. And that's what we do. We recognize it over here, but because we're afraid of the conflict. We're afraid because they're related to so many people in the church. We're afraid because they're one of our biggest givers and related to some of our biggest givers. And now we don't want to deal with the problem. So we wait as if the problem's going to go away. And please understand something, a fruit that goes spoiled never becomes sweet again. And so it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And here's the reality. You can pay now or you can pay later. But if you pay later, you will always pay more. That's right. Deal with it now. Have the tough conversation now. This is what keeps us together and keeps us unified. There are so many biblical examples about this. Put it on the screen for me. Moses, Pastor David mentioned this last night, goes to the mountain to pray. And 40 days later, he builds a golden calf. It only took 40 days for these guys to go sideways. How about in David, in Psalms 55? I could have taken it from an enemy, but we walked together in the temple courts. We were friends. We were in ministry together, and you did this to me? That happens. Happens in the church. 10 spies of Israel, they turn on their leader and spread a negative report to the rest of the tribe. Negative. You know what? They didn't get into the promised land, not because they broke the 10 commandments. Actually, it says they didn't get into the promised land because of their negative attitude and their disloyalty. Hey folks, listen to me. Oh, this is just a subject about unity and alignment. Yeah, all I know is God didn't allow certain people to not enter the promised land because of that subject. This is a major deal because we're messing with the kingdom of God. Judas sells out his leader. Julius Caesar, killed by his best friend, Brute. The opening of my book is et tu, Brute. Means you too, Brute. You did this to me, Brutus. He had Julius Caesar had 62 conspirators. They were 62 of his Senate, like Congress, Senate. He had 62 leaders on his team, and all 62, including his best friend, agreed to kill Julius Caesar. Now, hold on. If you're going to get 62 people, including his best friend, to agree on killing him, that doesn't happen in one meeting. Hold on, look, that's little hallway conversations. Boy, if I was in charge, Julius is a good leader, but if I was in charge. Sound familiar at all? Yeah. I don't know why Julius is doing this. We should be doing this. We should be doing this. Week, month, year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Finally get them to agree. Did Julius Caesar recognize it over here? Possibly. And that's the thing. The thing is this. You, if you're the lead pastor or a leader, if you're the lead pastor, you have to recognize it in other people before it becomes too toxic. If you are the person serving under the youth pastor, serving in the church, one of the elders, you got to know if it's happening in your heart. So the leader has to think, oh, is it happening? And then the person, the second chair leader, which is the majority of us in here, we have to say, is it happening in my heart? Is something happening? Am I drifting? Am I going to a different place? What's happening in my heart? And all of a sudden we begin, and it's because we haven't really submitted to God and to the leader that God has given us. You look through Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Every disciple referred to Jesus as Master or Lord, except for Judas. Look through Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. He only ever called Jesus Rabbi or teacher. There was always something wrong in his heart. It showed up in his language. Watch your heart. Watch your heart. Don't let the enemy get the victory. And we'll try to justify it. Oh, well, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to care. I'm trying to get the pastor to, whatever we do. Watch your heart. Watch your heart. And I tell people this all the time. If you can't serve your leader and be faithful to God, find another church. Go be successful elsewhere. Whatever. But get your heart right. We always want to blame the enemy. The enemy is being divisive. No. We're doing a great job. He doesn't deserve any credit. The enemy's standing on the sideline going, this is really easy with you guys. I don't even have to work. Because we create this. We have the greatest mission on the planet. Go into all the world, preach the gospel to all creation. We have seek and save that which is lost. The greatest mission in the world. Pardon this next word. Let's not screw it up by being misaligned or having disunity. Don't do it. Don't play the game. Don't be that person. Instead, operate in loyalty. Once you start drifting, we talked about leader drift, the subtle negative attitude and behavior. Once you start drifting, watch what happens. When you start drifting, okay, if you're the person drifting, you'll start thinking things like, things would be better if I was in charge. Watch. I love the church. I tolerate the leader. Do what you want in the rest of the church. Just leave my department alone. You're in a dangerous place when you go there. You're in a really dangerous place when you end up there. And what will end up happening is you'll start creating these silos. You'll start having back office conversations. You'll start talking to other people in the church. And if you're a leader, please understand, do not bring sheep into a shepherd's conversation. You're going to hurt the sheep. We do that all the time. Don't do that. But we do that. And then what happens is this disunity starts. And then misalignment starts. And then there's us and them. And then that starts. And then eventually, in many, many cases, there's a church split. Or as we like to call it today, a church plant. Insert sarcasm. Speaking from my own pain. I'm not bitter. I'm fine. No, I'm joking. I'm totally fine. How do we recognize the early signs of drifting? And I want to give those to you right now. The early signs of drifting. How do you know when it's happening in your heart? Or how do you know it's happening in someone that you're leading's heart? Let me give you 5 signs. Number 1, alliances are starting to form. Say it out loud with me, everybody in the house. Come on. Alliances. Okay, that's a dangerous place when alliances are starting to form. And you'll notice it because you'll see the conversation start to take place with that worker and that volunteer and that leader, and they're having a little bit of those side conversations, and alliances are being formed. But I remember about 15 years ago, I could tell alliances were being formed. It was starting to happen in the board, and I was about to address it the next morning. One board member texted another board member, but by accident, because his name was Chris as well, he sent it to me. Ooh, it was so good. We just worshiped in our house. Glory to God. I mean, it was awesome. And I text back, I said, this is Pastor Chris. We will talk in the morning. And we dealt with it in the morning, and he was done being a board member. Because I'm not gonna do that. Like I always say, man, you can mess up a lot in the ministry. I'm a part of about 3 or 4 different ministries, and God's allowed us to lead a lot of really cool stuff. But I tell people all the time, man, you can mess up. And you almost say, I messed up on the budget, whatever. I messed up on this, whatever. I messed up on loyalty, you're out. Yeah. I even tell employees, hey, you ever heard of 3 strikes, you're out? Like in baseball, you're already on strike 2, and you just started today. Yeah. When it comes to loyalty. That's right. You can mess up anywhere else, but not with loyalty. Because it's too important. And it makes too much damage. Alliances are starting to be formed. If you notice that alliances are starting to be formed, be careful with it. You got to watch that. Those alliances, they have to line up. A while back, I got on a flight, and have you ever noticed how the flights are changing? There's like animals on there now. And here's a cat, here's a dog. Look, there's a parrot. But anyway, I get on this flight, and I don't like flying. I'm not a big fan of it, although I do about 175 flights a year. I still don't like it that much. That's a lot of flying. And I think it's crazy. The last thing you see before you board the plane is the word terminal. Who came up with that word? That's not positive. It's like, you're gonna die. And really, I mean, the word terminal, like that's the best you could come up with? Anyway, so I get on this plane, we go out to the tarmac, and it is hot as ever out there, and I'm sweating. We wait a half hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours go by. We are dripping sweat, and I'm like, this is a nightmare, and everybody's starting to get angry. They're not telling us why we're sitting out there on the tarmac, they're not bringing water around. People are getting angry. I'm trying to be the Christian, on there, and then all of a sudden I got angry too. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? Crucify the pilot. Bring us Barabbas. I'm just yelling out anything I can. So then I get, I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. I go back, and now I'm angry. I know I'm in a bad mood. I am so far from being Christ-like at this moment. I go back to the bathroom, about to open it up, and there's a flight attendant standing there. She's got the biggest smile in the world on her face. She looks at me. She goes, how you doing? And I'm thinking, why are you so happy? We've been out here for 2 hours. It's 190 degrees in here. So I asked her, I go, ma'am, why are you so happy? And she tells me, the flight attendant, and I'm holding the door, about to go in the bathroom. She goes, well, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but it's Jesus that makes me happy. Now, how do you think I felt? I'm the pastor on the flight. Make it worse, she leans in, she goes, do you know Jesus? And I'm thinking, apparently not. I thought I did. So she baptized me in the sink. I've been a Christian now for 3 weeks. It's just amazing. I sat next to a pilot on the plane, and he talked about the importance of how the wing and everything has to be aligned. And he just went on and on about it. And I just thought everything he talked about was alliance and alignment. But understand something. There's a huge difference between alliance and compliance. A big difference. Okay? If you are a dictator leader, you will get compliance. If you are an influence leader, you will get alliance. That's great. You want alliance over compliance. And listen to me, we have to do the same thing. If you are the leader, you've got to watch, is anybody getting out of alignment in our team? If you're the team member, you got to say, is there anything in my heart that is allowing this to happen? I got to change it. I got to fix it. I got to get better at this. Let me give you number 2. Here we go. Sign number 2, little by little, they begin to disengage. Little by little, they begin to disengage. It's always a sign an organization needs to pay attention to is when their most passionate people become quiet. Something's wrong somewhere. Something's wrong somewhere. Little by little, they're starting to disengage. They're not involved as much. They don't say as much. They don't come with solutions as much. And you got to watch that. And if that's happening in you, you got to correct that in your heart. If you're the leader and you see it in somebody, you got to correct that in them. You've got to work this thing out because it is going to create damage. It always does. It's a disengagement. The prodigal son is a great example. He comes home, everybody gets excited, but where's the older brother? Out in the field. And what does he say? That son of yours. He doesn't even own him anymore. He's completely disengaging. And that's what ends up happening. And in the older brother, it's the same thing that happens in us, is that we disengage, we become discontent, and then we go to discord. Disengage, discontent, discord. The path is always the same. It always goes that way. Let me give you number 3. Here we go. Number 3, this is a big one. Watch this one. When you know someone on the team's drifting, they begin weaponizing their preference with spirituality. Whoo, that's dangerous, you guys. Hey, you know what, man? I think, Pastor, I love your teaching, but we need to be more verse by verse. Or, you know, I love the pastor's teaching. He's great, but I just wish he would be more perfect. I wish he would be more verse by verse. I wish he would be. And you know what? That makes it difficult for the leader to correct anything that you're spiritualizing. We begin, what do? We begin weaponizing our preference with spirituality. Verse by verse, topical, whatever God has, it's not one or the other. It's a matter of how we view it, and it's a matter of us. It becomes very dangerous when we start to spiritualize our preference. And people in lead pastors, am I wrong? People have done this. They do it all the time. And then, well, you know, I mean, what are you going to say? Oh, no, we don't want a longer worship. We don't want God to move. Like, what are we going to say to that? No, we don't want God to move. Let's not lose our head here at this church. But we're spiritualizing our preference, and it's such a dangerous place to be. Here's the 4th one. They start casting a vision different than the vision of the leader. They start casting a vision different than the vision of the leader. Please understand something. More than one vision will always create division. It always does. More than one vision will create division. Do not let that happen. What happens is, here's what it looks like. It looks like this. Boy, you know, I mean, I love the leader of the youth group, but man, if I was in charge, or, you know, but I think we should be more, and I wish we were more like this. And then when we start to, again, give our preference, we're casting vision different than the vision of the leader. And that's a dangerous place to be, because we're casting a vision that's different than the vision of the leader, and it's going to create problems. Now, let me tell you something. I told you never bring sheep into a shepherd's conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the greatest things you can do to not create division is to always stand strong in the hallway and on the text and on the phone call and in the parking lot of your church. If you got a problem, go talk to the pastor, but you should not talk to me about our leadership, because I'm not going to entertain that. We do not play that game here. I'm not going to allow that. And we have this loyalty. I was speaking at a conference one time, a bunch of people in the room, and they did this Q&A thing and ran around with microphones, and some lady in the back, I was talking about the subject, some lady in the back goes, Pastor Chris, I don't gossip in my church. And I thought, this is going to get good, because the way she was doing it. I was like, oh, okay, 4th person in the Trinity. We get that you're holy. And I don't gossip, I don't do that. And I'm like, and she's going on, and I'm just sitting, I'm on the stage listening, and she says, people just come to me in my church with their complaints and their criticisms because I am a safe haven. And I said, ma'am, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I go, but they don't come to you because you're a safe haven. They come to you because they know they can get away with it. That's why they do it. I never got invited back, and it was a great honorarium too, and that kind of stunk. But what happens is that we allow other people to come to us. We allow other people to speak to us in a way that is wrong and negative. I believe that authority has to move from top to bottom, but I also believe authority has to move from left to right. Peer-to-peer accountability and authority. Here's what I mean by that. If I'm in the parking lot and someone says, you know, I love the pastor, I love the youth, I love the worship, I just wish we were, you know what? I'm not the person to have that conversation. It sounds like you have an issue and you need to go to them. You don't need to do that more than once or twice, and they ain't coming to you ever again. Oh, they come to me all the time. Of course they do, because you let them get away with it. That's why. Don't do that. We have the most important mission on the planet. We have the most important mission to help people find Jesus. And man, I'm telling you, I love the anointing that's here. I love the worship. I love what God is doing in this last couple of days here at the Hill. That is awesome. But when we go out these doors and when we're back here on Sunday or whatever your church is on Sunday morning, that's when we got to stand up and say, that's our leader. And unless he does something wacko, sell all you have and move to the mountains. Don't do that. But we're going to follow him. We're going to serve. We're going to get behind that youth pastor, behind that children's pastor. And we are never going to say a bad word. We are going to be loyal because the enemy, if he takes a run at this church, again, he ain't going to do it through those who attend it. It's never the guy in the 10th row, like nobody knows his name. You know that guy, nobody knows his name? He's causing all the problems. It's never that. It is always 100% of the time, the leaders. Just don't be that leader. Decide, I am going to pay attention to the early signs of toxicity in our team. Early signs. Early signs. Understand something. If you wait too long and the entire team recognizes it, it's probably too late. If you wait to a point where they no longer care about the relationship with you, you've waited too long. And the worst thing you can do for your strong leaders is to tolerate a weak one. It's the worst thing you can do. So let's go to number 5. Last one. Shift from having great questions to having a questioning spirit. Number 5, how do you know someone on the team may be drifting? They're moving from great questions to having a questioning spirit. And when that happens, you're heading towards a problem. Look for those signs. Look for those issues in your heart. Do not let the enemy fool you and think that you're being spiritual or you're just sharing your heart. You're putting what God, hey, I think you should share your heart, but with nobody at the church. If it's going to be all negative and critical, go and talk to someone, figure it out. And they should, if they're a good leader, they should point you back to the pastor or leader. But we don't play that game. We don't play that game. We are in the biggest mission. Oh, there's a big old election coming up in November. And I love America and I love the American flag. But I'm telling you, Jesus is still more important than all of that. And we have to fight to stay in alignment and alliance with each other. If you recognize it, deal with it. If it's in your heart, deal with it. But don't let it go off and drifting and let the enemy have a field day with what you think is spiritual. Don't do that. Be careful not to do that. I told you that it is tough. I told you about that leader, former pastor on our team, 500-600 people, whatever, $500,000 in the budget. We lay off 8 people because he felt led of the Lord. Man, I'm telling you, it was rough. I've been through some counseling for it because it hurt so bad because I raised him up. And then he did that. I couldn't believe he did that, but he did. And I hadn't seen him in, a couple, 2 or 3 years went by, and just a while back, I ran into him with my car. And I wanted to. I almost gave Dave Amsden a Louisville Slugger for Christmas and said, here's an address. Do what God puts on your heart. Whatever the Lord leads you, brother. But it's difficult. But I need to get over it. Don't let that happen in your church. Whatever church you're part of, don't let that happen in your church. Don't let that happen if you're the leader. Deal with it. If you're a person on the team, deal with it. Here's 3 things real quick. Be aware of the early signs of drifting. Early signs of drifting. Remember, if you recognize it, by the time the team all recognizes it, it's probably too late. Have the difficult conversation. It is not going to be easy, but have the difficult conversation. You might lose a couple people in the process. Have the difficult conversation. You might lose a little bit of tithe dollars. Have the difficult conversation. And choose the right course of action. Maybe they stay on the team, maybe they don't. Maybe they move to a different team. Maybe they step down for a while. But you have to guard alignment and you have to guard unity. You have to. We have way too great of a mission. I'm going to wrap it up because I want to give, and then I'm going to say one more thing, but I want to give you a book in just a moment. But we started something, at Church Boom called Church Boom University. Church Boom University is a place that when you belong to it, you get resources sent to you every quarter. You get master classes on developing your own personal leadership. Lead pastors, you get master classes on how to increase your generosity, how to increase tithing, how to increase leadership pipelines in your church. We have all of this stuff. And we created it. Myself, several others, Sam Chan's part of it, several other people are part of it because we realized that we as leaders have to keep growing. Leaders are learners. You have to keep growing. And so what I'd love to do is, it's totally up to you, but put it on the screen for me, the QR code. And you can grab that QR code. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to get the book for free. You're going to get the book for free, but you're also, all you got to do is pay for the shipping. I don't know, it's like $5, $6, whatever it is. Pay for the shipping. You're also going to get 30 days of Church Boom University. 30 days. After 30 days, it's a $29 investment into your own leadership. You're like, whoa, $29. You're getting books. You're getting everything. We've got this. We're giving this book away for free today. You're going to be able to be a part of the Church Boom University after 30 days. Remember, don't text someone and go, well, I'm getting charged 20. You're after 30 days, you become a member, but you get to try it out for 30 days. Because we started this not because it's making money. We started it because leaders need to grow. Myself, Sam Chan, many other people are participating in it. We want you to participate in it. Make sure you check that out. I want to encourage you, and this last thought is this, and you can take care of that. And that offer will, I think, last for like, I don't know, a few hours. So try to take care of it at lunch. You have to put in your credit card to kind of pay for the shipping or whatever. Last thought is this. I was talking to a friend of mine who wrote a book. My last thought here. And he's doing study on writing a book on the Psalms 23, my favorite chapter. Talk to me about Psalms 23. I promise you I got a grip load of insight because I have worked that chapter back and forth a million times. But he decided when he was in New Zealand on vacation with his family that he was going to go to an actual sheep ranch, whatever you call it. He decided to go to that sheep ranch, and he went around and he looked and he wanted to learn. The cool thing was the rancher had about 2,000 sheep, but he had no idea. He wasn't a Christian. My friend's a Christian trying to write a book. He said, yeah, I'll give you a tour. He gives him a little tour. At the very end of the tour, he noticed, keep in mind, the rancher isn't a Christian. Only my friend is. And he says to the rancher, he goes, I noticed in the barn they're shaving off the wool of the sheep. And he goes, why is that? Is that for money? He goes, well, it's partly for money. And it's partly because when they go out for 2 or 3 weeks grazing with a shepherd and dogs and all that stuff, he said, now watch this, if it begins to rain, and he goes, and they're far away on the other side of the hill, if it begins to rain, he said, the rain will collect inside of the wool. And he goes, and because they've got little feet, he goes, they'll just fall over, which is kind of funny. And he goes, and the rancher says, but the sad thing is, he goes, they're so heavy, they can't get back up. So then my friend says to this rancher who's not a Christian, doesn't understand the whole Psalms 23 shepherd-sheep relationship. My friend says to me, he says, okay, but if he falls over and he can't get back up, he goes, what normally happens? He goes, the rancher goes, it's really weird. He goes, I don't understand why. He goes, but the other sheep that are around there, he goes, they'll start circling him. He goes, and they'll begin to cry out, bah. He goes, until the master comes and rescues them. That is the local church. We have each other. We support each other. We walk with each other. We don't always agree, but we talk it out. Health. We don't live in artificial harmony. We walk in unison together. We talk things out because that's what God's called us to do. Lift your hands towards heaven and say this after me, and we'll wrap this up. Say, Jesus, today I recommit to alignment and unity. I will do my part. Our mission is too important to get out of alignment. Help me today to keep my heart aligned, unified. Help me to use wisdom when talking with other people. I want to support the church. I want to support the leaders. I want to support my pastor. When I do this, it honors you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys.
Amen. Y'all give it up for Pastor Chris again.